Every employee matters. Every person, even the most, junior operational new hire, really matters. When you can help the real leadership, when you can help the real stakeholders understand how they just need to unlock better ways to lead and a little bit more humility and maybe even a new opportunity to bring somebody else in, and the risk reward becomes way more favorable.
Spartans, listen up.
We need to sleep better. So how do you sleep better? Never thought about it before. And so I met Jack, I met Essentia. I pay attention to the mattress you sleep on because it's loaded with chemicals.
Recovery, cooling, and pressure relief, all in one mattress. Up to 60% more deep and REM sleep. Less inflammation, faster bounce back. No toxins, no EMFs, no BS.
My buddy Jack over at Essentia, he's kind enough to give us a code for the Spartan community. That's DECA, that's Tough Mudder, all of us. Use Spartan25, get a discount. Prioritize your sleep so you can sleep faster, you can do more burpees, you can train more, you can get healthier. When you sleep well, you live well.
Welcome to the Hard Way podcast with Joe Sena, founder and CEO of Spartan Races. We're teaching you how to overcome your obstacles in your life the same way we teach our 10 million plus Spartans to overcome obstacles on the course, with insight from the smartest, most accomplished experts from every corner of the world. Get ready to elevate your life today.
Joe Sena here, CEO and founder of Spartan, host of the Hard Way podcast. I got a buddy of mine from the neighborhood, Joe Greco, Palio performance coaching. This guy's an animal. Didn't get into Annapolis, still pisses him off, and I think he secretly wants to be in the military.
A little bit. I call myself a fanboy, but affectionately, because I could run with them and also know most of the guys that are serving, and obviously a lot of them that we remembered over the recent weekend.
You carry yourself as if you're in the military or veteran. Like you could tell right away that you've got it buttoned up. Nature
nurture. I was always an early morning guy. Even if I was out hard with my buddies back in the day, I just got up and was, needed to accomplish things, be in motion, get going. And, when you have 5 kids, as you know, with multiple kids running around, you gotta stay on top of your game. Forget what you're doing with your clients for your own blood. You got to always be in it. So for me, it's get up early, get in motion, meditate, be centered, and just power through the rest of that day with everything starting off on the right foot.
You just gave me an idea, by the way. We have we have the farm up in Vermont. We do weddings up there. Not too many. It's besides a death race, brides would never want to hear this. We do really exclusive weddings, but you have 5 daughters between 4 and 14. And I just thought we should do like an advertisement. Any good dad, which you are, you're a good guy, that has 5 daughters or more, they get married there for free, or something, because you're screwed.
Well, I did. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you're not the first person to try and point this out to me. So here's my strategy on that one. I think it's a pretty good, you get like 75 people a year that try to point this out to you. And politely, I say, well, here's the deal. All 5 of you have to get married on the same day. But here's the rub. If you're a guest, I want 5 envelopes. You're not getting out cheap.
I like that. We could do that. I've given a lot of friends and family the farm, but we should have the girls up, by the way, for death camp. We got death camp end of June. If you're available, if your wife will go for it, send the girls up. My girl started at 4 years old. My wife and I would fight over my little daughter. She's turning purple. She'll be fine. Let her keep going.
Well, I'll let you know. I mean, you own the brand now, but back in the day when Tough Mudder first came across the pond, we ran in the first couple that were in Englishtown and then up at Mount Snow. And I remember we had just had our first, and she got sunburned because my wife was with her in the little carrier for the 2.5 hours, 3 hours that we were getting all muddy. And so I think it actually could be like a homecoming for that one, because she's 14 and she just recently said to me, when I was going to the gym, she said, "Can I go with you?" She really wanted to she knew I had to blow off some steam, and she's like, she wanted to see Dad when he was letting loose in the gym, not just when he was throwing stuff around in the yard. So that could be a possibility, Joe. I like it.
Talk to us about, look, everybody listening to this, everybody watching, anybody in the Spartan community. And by the way, it's been going on for 2,500 years, right? The word means something. We want to optimize our lives. So you're out there coaching a ton of executives. You're probably analyzing your own life every day and trying to optimize your own life. What things should we be doing to make ourselves better?
The abridged version of the Spartan way, right? Which is something that I arrived at for myself. Like you said, it's not necessarily super original. The construct of the words and the exercises are, of course, they're unique to you, just like my own, true wealth, 5 competencies of wealth construct. I was on Wall Street. And for me, it was all about like, what do you measure? Who are you measuring yourself against? What are you chasing? What are your goals? Whether it's quarterly, annually, long-term vision, whatever. And a lot of folks get stuck, especially, in these days, they get stuck looking at like what's in their account. What's the bottom line? What comes after the dollar sign? And, that's like a really tough existence, and not to belittle it for people who are super successful financially, but many people just aren't cut out for that. And many people are cut out for it, but it also burns you out or makes you a different animal and, maybe makes you really irritable or really nasty. And so the balance for me is to look at all the other ways that you can truly be wealthy. And when you really go deep on what drives you, when you really go deep and allow yourself to be honest in the mirror, solo, you and God, and you say, like, these are the things that I really care about. These are the things that get me going and get me excited and bring me energy and truly make me motivated, not because I'm going to get punished or lose my job, but because I really want a year in, year out, decade in, decade out, season in, season out, I go after them. When you identify that list or even just start to think in that way, everything starts to change, things start to fall in line. It becomes a hell of a lot easier because now you're blocking out all the stuff that's actually distracting you, and you're starting to chase goals, you're starting to do things, like you said, that just tweak yourself a little bit better.
No doubt about it. I say all the time, and it's easier said than actually done, but I say all the time, we measure our success in lives changed. Right.
Yeah.
And when you do it that way, when you're looking at things outside the bottom, unfortunately, in the world we live in, the bottom line is the bottom line.
It is. And it's pain. I could tell you all the bumps, bruises, pains, and, hardship that I put myself and at times my wife through. And that is like the most amazing thing. You want to talk about the best investment ever. Find a partner, find the partner that really goes there with you. And it allows you to be you and allows you to refine yourself and supports you every step of the way, which sometimes is simply getting out of the way and letting you fail and letting you struggle so you can become that better version. But each step of the way, you learn more, you redefine. You have a goal, I think it's 100 million? You want to get 100 million people off the couch? I love stuff like that because that really sets it. And I think my number was, I don't know, maybe $1 billion or something. And it was one of those like shady pyramid scheme numbers, like 1 billion people. I wanted to have 1 billion expressions of gratitude. And I got it because I'm thinking about, how do you get 100 million people off a couch? It's a lot of couches, a lot of fat, lazy, potato chip eating people that I resembled at some point in my life or many times, right? That we all did. And for me, I really just like writing. I'm old school. You write with like a nice pen, nice ink, if you really like the person, maybe a fountain pen and, write a note. And so I print up and I'll be sending you one, of course, at the conclusion of this episode, a gratitude card. And it just says gratitude on the top. And every program that I go through, every coaching client gets these. And there's 2 things you have to do. And I usually give you a pen and a stamp as well. So the first thing is you have to actually write it out. I don't care how much you write. I don't care what you write. But you got to write it out and you got to mail it to somebody. And I make it as easy as that. And then the second thing you got to do is you can't send it to me. I don't want them back. And only one son of a gun actually ever sent it back. And I told him, you broke the streak. And like a pain in the ass. He's like, I wanted to break the streak. I'm like, you're an idiot. But so if you could do that, if you can impact people, like you said, if you could have real impact, if you get them off the couch, if you create expressions of gratitude, if you, just make the world a little bit of a better place. I absolutely believe whoever you believe in is going to shine on you a little bit more.
Like, how'd you become an I'm always interested. I'm talking to you. I hear the Italian in you, and
I've never been told that.
I could hear it through and through, but how'd you get it? Where'd you get these tools? Because I have kids too, like you, and we're all as parents trying to level up our kids. Where'd you get this stuff?
Yeah, great parents, and then fortunately, believe it or not, divorce gave me 2 more parents, and then marriage gave me 2 more parents, and then all my friends and godparents. So I have like so many, and I view them all as parents, and I love having good friends, parents who I call mom and dad and whatnot, just out of affection, not because they told me to or asking to, but I took that liberty because I truly look at them in that way. If you look for that, it doesn't matter if it's genetic, blood, you'll find that those people really care for you. And in the end, their advice is always going to be the advice that they're going to have to live with because they're going to be stuck with you. into your 60s or 70s when they finally expire. So in the end, they're not looking to just get like, mileage out of you to make like quarterly numbers or like, to get the promotion because you're making them look good with sales. They're in it for the long haul. So they need to see a finished product in who you are. So if you just like accept that, you lay it down and you do the pride and you accept that, it starts to make sense. It starts to become like harmonious instead of being noise, instead of being like discipline, that terrible word when you're a kid. And then all of a sudden you get like a golf buddy out of your dad, you get a fishing buddy out of another dad, you get a baseball or softball teammate out of another dad, you get a mom that, really gives you a hug like nobody else. You get all these people, these parents. So I would say that's the core, Joe, for me.
Great mentors. I've had old timers around me for long. I got a lot of friends that are in their 80s, and so I sought them out, or maybe I clicked with them at that moment, or for whatever reason they were willing to give me advice. Not easy though. I tell my kids as I'm listening to you, I have no dog in the fight other than to see you succeed. Like I don't benefit as a matter of fact, it costs me whatever I'm telling you to do. Right? Like, but not easy to convince a teenager.
I think the dynamic that's been written about by other people with doctorates and, who really studied this stuff, you take a teenage girl and her mother, and you basically can find the greatest distance for the father. Like I will get as far away from that when that's combustible. But I do think there's a development for, as a parent, right? We're parents and we're going through this, and that's the next learning for us. Like, how do we shape that advice to not take the easy way, but take the Spartan way, to take the survival route, to start like saying like, hey, you're going through what I went through. And I know me telling you that is not the way that you want to hear it because I didn't want to hear it. So let me change the message. Maybe it means let me enlist somebody else. Maybe it's get them a trainer, get them a team or a subscription to a gym, right? So they could start to work out differently. Get them, buddy up with somebody who's got a farm in Vermont and bring them up there so they can get, dirty and bloody and muddy with everybody else and really see something unique and different that's going to change the course of how they view activating their bodies. I believe that, I work with very small organizations typically. I'll get on stage with thousands of people and that's great, but I love getting in there, getting tight, rolling sleeves up with like an individual, a core team, or even like, a 30, 40 person organization, because every employee matters. Every person, even the most, junior operational new hire really matters. And in the end, they don't want to lose them just as much as they don't want to lose their star performer, or their senior partners. When you can help the real leadership, when you can help the real stakeholders understand how they just need to unlock like better ways to lead and, a little bit more humility and maybe even a new opportunity to bring somebody else in, and the risk reward becomes way more favorable. And all of a sudden you see like real value unlock, you see real organizational development and growth. So I think it's very similar, employees like children enjoy traditions, enjoy like respect, enjoy being given the opportunity, believe it or not, to like fall, spill the milk, scrape their knee. They may not in the moment, but they're gonna at some point. You got to keep them from like crashing the car and causing like an unalterable event.
What do you see over and over? What's a common unlock?
A common unlock. Oh, that's a good one. I subscribe to something that many sharper people than me figured out and have studied and researched, and I don't know, a couple 100 million people have taken some form of assessment. I'm sure people listening have done some form of an assessment in their professional lives. And, it's very simple. We think we're unique. We think we're all special. We kind of are, but like after you get rid of like the clothes and the jewelry or the hair or the whatever, we really are like, it comes down to like 4 ways of doing things, 4 styles of communicating, behaving, interacting, taking risks, making decisions, sharing ideas, keeping our mouth shut, popping off, whatever. And when you understand that we're all in like one home base, we all have like one neighborhood that we really feel most comfortable in, that inherently means that 75% of the world does everything that I just said differently. They have different risk tolerance, different ways of deciding and timelines and whatnot. And once you accept that and you realize that we're all in the minority and it behooves us, not only behooves us, but it's mandatory that we have to flex a little bit. We got to bend a little bit to other people. And it becomes this whole process of understanding or trying to understand and making it your mission. Understand where the other person's really coming from. Understand by their behaviors, not just their values, because that may be very tough, or more vice versa, very easy, but really understanding the other person and then meeting them right there, and the more you can do that, the more favorable outcomes, the more inspiration you can cause, the more butts you can get off of the couch, or expressions of gratitude you can put out there in the world. And that's probably, for me, that's like within the first 2 sessions, we have to do not only the assessment, but I got to talk to you about the model. I got to talk to you about yourself. And then I got to talk to you about what others are experiencing with you too, because what we think is in the mirror and what others see in us is often very different, right?
As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, I had a conversation with one of the wrestling dads recently, and because my kid is ahead of him and off to college already, he's asking me some questions, right? Like, all right, because his kid's 4 or 5 years behind on his way to college. And he said, what would you, like, how do you teach the kid walking into a room and captivating an audience? And I said, well, it's obviously the basics, shake hands, look in the eyes. But as I listen to you, tell me if I'm wrong, it really boils down to just add value. Add value in your conversations, add value in your relationships, add value in your work. Like, you got to add value.
Yeah, and I'm not, and I don't mean to diminish that by any means, but like I feel like so many people are talking about that now. I wonder how many are doing it or seeking it out, and or maybe they just don't even know. Like half the room doesn't know how to add value, doesn't know with the tools they've been given, the experiences they have, the meat hooks in front of them. How do I add value? How do I bring value? And so I would say, in that moment, when are people laughing with you? When are people smiling with you? When have people congratulated you? When have people told you you're an ass, or maybe made you cry, or you made them cry, and when you left, you were like, oh shoot, I really shouldn't have treated them like that, right? You had that moment of clarity. And if you go on a hike, right? Go do something outdoors, no music, no earpods in, no technology. And let yourself think about that. Go someplace special and think about all of those and many more. And we take people through, on our retreats, we take people through some of that exercise, because when you identify those are how you, Joe DeSena, me, Joe Greco, because you could say like you bring value by like producing an amazing financial analysis in a report. But if you suck at doing research, that report's going to suck. It's never going to be good. You're never going to bring value. But if you provide a key component along the way, or you can like own a little bit of it along the way, then all of a sudden it becomes natural, it becomes more authentic. When you get down to that base level, then you can really sink your teeth in and maybe becoming better at writing a report, because it's going to be more authentic version of you, me, whomever.
Tell us about the Naval Academy.
So the USNA has a program called the summer session. I think all the military academies do. And when I say I think, I know, obviously, because as I said, Aaron Boy. In my junior year in the summer, I went to one of the summer sessions down in Annapolis. It was a 4-hour drive from Long Island. I remember my grandparents picked me up and were so proud because I won what was called the Ironman Award. What that entails is you got to be sharp in class. Like, you go in classes for a week. You got to be able to withstand all the like drop and give me 20 and like, yes sir, no sir, I don't know sir, I'll find out sir. Like, there's only so many responses. And I learned like all the songs during the week, right, which I could still sing. And then at the end of it, you do some like ridiculous physical exercise, which I was puking outside of the field house. And they gave me this award, the Ironman Award. Well, fast forward a year later, Department of Defense says, you've had a history of asthma. Obviously, I knew that. My pulmonologist and I were working around that for years, varsity, 2 varsity letters in high school and all that. So we thought it would be fine. And Department of Defense said, no, we're taking too many people from your town. We can't run the risk of 4 years from now, we can't commission you. And I remember telling the colonel on the phone as I was like about to like tear up, like 3 months before graduation, had my, nomination from the center and all that. And I said, you know what, you're making the wrong call. Those guys won't make it. I mean, I had some set on me back in the day, I guess. And I said, those guys aren't going to make it. And I'm telling you, I'll sign whatever I need to sign. I will be commissionable. And that's what I really thought. So freshman year of college, 2 months in, I get a letter from a buddy who just went through plebe summer as a midi. So he went through the toughest part, sends me a letter. Hey, dude, sorry, but before I even tell my parents, I'm telling you, I'm leaving. Can't do it. This isn't for me, and I feel terrible that I took your spot. Now, he obviously didn't take my spot, but all that's to say, it was tough. It was a tough blow. I mean, talk about putting like almost all of your eggs in one basket, right? I kept a few, luckily, and I was able to rebound immediately, get a great offer to go to Rensselaer Polytech, a great nerdery up in upstate New York, engineering school. But, that whole process, I just became fascinated with the Naval Academy, the tradition, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the fraternity of it all, the respect they have, the order of things that the military academies provide you. So to your point, getting up early and just following like the regime and whatnot. And over the years, I love it. I remember being proud, taking my wife down there for a buddy's wedding and giving her a tour of the campus. And she's like, how do you know all this crap? Why? And I'm like, it's really impressive, man. Everybody should know it, and this place is like, this breeds the best of the best, each of the service academies really do. And I'm blessed now. 3 of my closest friends and my brother-in-law, my nephew, 3 of my closest friends have sons in the service academies right now. And I have like just the utmost respect for those young men and the women that are in the programs.
That's all. The word tradition really, when you were going through all the attributes of the Naval Academy or any of the academies, like you said, tradition is, it's an institution. It's powerful.
Yeah. Something that is so unwavering with being precise. You think about the problems of the world. You think about the engineering feats that the military provide, they solve for. It's not just about, hoorah, run into battle and start firing, weapons. It really is a lot about very tactical yet strategic approaches to solving everything, and maybe even solving war, which is, of course, the ultimate dispute between different civilizations.
Let's get them to go talk to Putin.
We could be there soon.
How do people find you?
Mostly like, mid-height, fairly good looking, in a positive, mindset, good sense of humor, or at least about myself, self-deprecating. PalioInc.com, Palio Inc.com. All over social media, LinkedIn and Instagram. If you're anywhere in the 914, Westchester County, New York, you can find me with my kids somewhere in the evenings or weekends, especially in summer. And if it involves ice cream, I'm there too.
Why'd you name it Palio?
Thank you for asking. Speaking of traditions, there is a horse race in Italy, in Siena, Italy, that's been going on for 700 and something years, depending upon which historian you ask. And just the idea that they've been running this race in the piazza on sand that's brought into the piazza, the cobblestone piazza, uneven ground, no saddles on the horses. There's days of proving races and trial races. There's contrada, the neighborhoods of the city, and everybody's all pride rich and, excited for their horse, their jockey. There's so many elements of that map over to the professional development game that I'm in. And I really believe it's all about, identifying the race, the rules, the competition, and the prize. And when you do that, you might very well win the Palio in Siena. And I believe if you do that in your career, if not your life, you're definitely going to be winning, and you'll be winning based on your terms, and it'll feel really good.
It's my favorite event in the world. I'll be there in August if you want to come.
It really is so intense. It's nothing like, there's nothing like it.
I sensed that was the connection. I was waiting until the end. I said, let me give it a shot and see if he's connected to that event. But I'll be there in August. I've been telling my kids about it forever, with or without the horse, right? Like across the line.
With or without the jockey. With or without the jockey.
Yeah.
And they've had in recent years. So we not coincidentally, the third leg of our honeymoon over there 16 years ago, we went to Siena, and my wife had no clue. I did all the planning. And we watched this thing, and one of the jockeys fell off. So we had known that the horse is the only thing that needs to cross. It's 3 laps around the track. And it's just so intense, and it's such an inspiring show of tradition, Well,
you're awesome. Thanks for coming aboard.
You're the most generous individual and so humble in the way that you go about trying to achieve your mission. So greatly, greatly appreciate that.